Hello and welcome. It is the end of the day for the 12th of July 2019. My name is Derek. This is the Money Charts channel where, like always, all bets, trades of the like, within each his own risk and their own reward. If Bitcoin's really not able to get above the 18 average of highs today, which is Saturday, yeah, definitely momentum is over as far as this uptrend. 18 average can go sideways. Stage number one, band flattening out for that step is what the process will be, if of course it's able to continue one further. It's got to get above this 18 average of highs, and more importantly, get above this twice hit area of resistance at around $12,930. And well, that just happens to be mathematical Fibonacci. Let's take a look at this on the shorter term time frame because there's not really much to go over. And when we take a look at this on the 15, what I want to do is I want to uh, take a look at this on the tether that I've got the Binance information on. And well, what do we have here? We have support at this level. Let's just take a look at this on the single hour. It's just really hanging in there for the most part. 15-minute on the hour time frame rather. Since the decline, what is this done on the 18? Well, you can make a case of almost like an inverted head and shoulders pattern. This little area declined that I hit to the first time of this line to this area represent the left shoulder. The move, which technically was just a pierce below, that's the head because it's lower. And then it comes up here to match this neckline. And then the higher low to here, although pierce above, matching low to this area. And then it breaks the resistance neckline just barely here at around 1600 hours. And has now come back, piercing below the neckline right now within its retracement several periods back, over half a dozen, all on lower volatility, but meeting up to the higher low 18 average of lows, which is last tested back in here at 12 o'clock earlier today. So a test amongst it, but all of this is just while it is in the sideways consolidation. And as long as it's in all of this little line-ish area here, it's just sideways, choppy, and I'm waiting for a break one side or another. Until then, it's just going to go up and down, and there's trading availability, of course, within its volatility, which is, well, the lowest end being 98, the highest being 13. But right now, of course, you're looking at about an 8 lower percentage volatile move. But overall, the volatility, and I got to put this on a log scale. Don't know why it was off. But the volatility in here is, I mean, it was tamer before, so there is some that is amongst the sphere of the Bitcoin 4 minute time frame. Just the short term moves, you're seeing like, okay, 11.5 up to 11.8. Those are like 2-3% moves. Altcoins, of course, having higher volatility. Theta is an interesting market. But before I take a look at Theta, I'm going to show you how some of the markets have been doing since July the 7th, because I'm expecting coins to go up. So I'm just curious to see how these numbers are going to look. And they've been going down. It's been a dartboard sell-off amongst the cryptocurrencies. And I'm going to now put my spreadsheet up. And what we have here is all the coins, and I manually put the prices in here. And then we'll automatically know based on which coin it is, how many, what it means in price, because Dash, and they know it knows what the decimal is. And therefore, it's calculating since 1500 hours and 45 minutes, or 3:45 p.m. Eastern time on July the 7th, which is 5.5 days, not less, little less than 5.5 days. How the markets have done against both Bitcoin and against the dollar. It's pretty much the same now because Bitcoin is up 1.39% since that point in price, so it's pretty much the same. But everything in here is pretty much down noticeably in that 15% area. Cardano's down 14% against the dollar. Artcoin 14.5. Cosmos is Atom, it's down 17. Bitcoin Cash is down 15% against the dollar. Dash 10.8. DGB is the second best one on the list, and I'm going to show you the best one. It's lower than Litecoin in chronological order, obviously, because this is the best you can see right now. 4.67% down, the second best winner of my list. Ethereum Classic is in at 15 and 2/3. 18 and a thirds down is Gold Chain. Gross Coin down almost 20. Komodo down 12 and a half. Litecoin down 14. Neo down 11.29. Qtum, right now the biggest loser of the bunch, down 22 and 2/3. And that's not that big of a difference when you consider everything with the exception of DGB and the winner, if you call it a winner coming up, is like down in double digits. Like 14, 13, 15, 17, all around that same number there. Sky 11% down, Theta Fuel down 15, and Theta is only down 1.12%. That's the winner. Theta, and then Tron's down 17. Waves, I guess that's one of the bigger losers. And Waves and Komodo, those are the interesting ones because they were way up at that time anyway. So they had to come down a bit. And the fact that Komodo is only down 12 is relatively interesting as well. But Waves is down 25. Lumen down 7. And Ripple down 14.5%. Theta's got an interesting look. Right now, let's take a look at its chart. And we'll start with the daily term. And I mean, you really can't see too much here. This really shows something. Okay, what went on here July the 10th? And that was something. We'll see with the shorter term time frame. But just straight down. When you got days like this from June 17th to whenever this broke support on June the 20th, a range of 13.59 to like 14.15. There's nothing you can do. For me, there's like nothing you can do. Other than if your other coins are trading it or going up and down, you'll just basically play that as its base move. What it's going to be bought and sold based on if the other one goes up or down. And then all these down moves, but it's volatility. And even beforehand, when you just take a look as a trader, you're looking for situations. How can I take advantage of these moves? How were they profitable? What situations can I get to be able to take advantage of moves of this nature? But you have this situation in here, going from 1350 to 1680 back to where it came from. And then it did it this day, came back. Then it came up again the following day, came back. So we're talking about going from 1694 down to 1387. And then to be able to come back as high as 1900 and then as low as 1535. Hit this high again, and even on this intraday level, this green day to red day to green day. You gotta ask yourself the question, is there any profiting just in those 3 days? For if it's going to go from 1823 down to under 1700, that's a differential of close to 10%. So, I mean, you get small moves. That's what all you're able to get on it. And of course, when these things are ready to go, there's a couple methods in which they can go up. And this is showing both of them. Well, there's many methods, I suppose. But it goes up gradually or goes up fast. This is what happened when it went up fast. If you went to bed before 11 p.m. Eastern and even midnight, you missed this move. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. If you didn't run that time, if not, you got like around here around 8 o'clock in the morning. So it had a move of this nature in a span of a couple movies, 5, 6 hours, 5 hours, whatever, 4 hours even. But this one, the move from point A, or the second one, from point A to point high, was gradual. For it was starting to break out above the highs on January 22nd, and it managed to get to this level on March the 8th, so that's a month and a half of gradually making it. And along the way, some higher highs and higher lows, enough where you can just make a few trades here and there that can work out. You have a spot here where this high comes in at about 26. This low comes in at like 22 change, so that's a differential of about close to 20%, not quite. But even from this low to this high and the low again. So we have 23 change, 38 change. That's a differential of like 15 on 23. That's like 60, 70%. And then you go from 38 down to 30. There's a differential. Well, what's 38 and 30? That's like 800 difference. 800 divided by 3,000. Well, 600 would be 20%. 900 would be 30. So that's like 27%. That's how I calculate those numbers really fast. 31 to 51, what's a differential of 2? Well, that's like 2/3, so 67% increase from here to here. Those volatility situation days are going to come along. And even just on a small note, you have this high and this low. So you have 38 down to like 32. That's still close to 20%. So just little small picks away while things are really bullish and you're getting sell order more than anything. To get a few buy orders here and there, like in here, this one back in here, does help along the way for selling up here. But then after this fact and after this high, after you were bombarded with sell orders from basically the start of the year, after not much was going on in here, just not much trading at all, then when it started going near the end of January, you're pretty much getting bombarded with majority of sell orders. Mostly, first, for the last week of January, January 21st through January 27th. Then again, from February 5th up to February 10th, you'd be having sell orders. Most certainly on these 3 days of February 25th up to February 27th, and maybe your last little bit here, March 1st. And then another few days of sell orders, and now you're going to have buy orders pretty much. And it's just gradually hitting. Now hardly getting any sell orders at all. Having a little bit of this rally in here, but it obviously failed. But when it fails, that means only price pays. So when you sell up here, you buy back, there's your gain along the play. Now, when we look at this on a shorter term level, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. 8 hour time frame. It's really just stuck in the band trying to get this thing going from after a horrendous bear market. Since this key point, it really hasn't even attempted to get out until here. It resisted it here, and then even resisted the lows in here. But since it got up to this point, successful correction, failed breakout. So right now it's just still in the mode of correcting. You had this little interesting period in here, which was an attempt, you could say, to get it. That was just a lot of big buying, and I find that interesting. We'll see if that can spark any type of break above this and fill some of this empty space. If not all of it, is some of it, but some of it is like, okay, a lay mass amount is coming up to like and holding and staying in this 13 to 1400 area. An okay one is like a 61.8. That's like 1542. Pretty good one is matching previous high. And then, of course, after that, breaking that high of this in here, and then you're talking about filling a lot of this empty space up here even. And then, of course, same game again. Can it make a new high in a retracement correctionary mode? But for now, we're looking at the short term, 3 hour term time frame from this move in here. Price action before this happened was down in this 920ish, 930 area, and it resisted around 965, 957. So in the between the first half of the second half of between 950 and 970. I'm trying to say that in a word term. But we can see it supported it here, although it had a failed breakdown. As the failed breakdown was because it broke down below this key level of support as it did in here. Came back to this area. It didn't resist it and fall lower, although it was showing a lot of resistance area signs during these 3 periods. The pause one, the move to the highs that pulled back, and then the pause to that. Because it was resisting in this area, it was staying below this level of support. It didn't go below the 18 average of lows, but over the last 2 periods, we have this one that got above this high, above the 18 highs, retesting many line hits in here. And since then, 1 hour 54 minutes left in a 3 hour candle, so past the 1/3 of the mark way in. Usually have a decent sized candle, oftentimes at that. This is no exception. We can see that it's getting back what it retraced already, so that's an interesting, nice little setup. And on the single hour time frame, this is where it gets very, very interesting, or at least it starts to. As we have obviously this downtrend trying to get above in here, establish a level of resistance, come back to the band and break it. And now it's congesting and holding this after the fact on this play. So that's in itself a strong situation. And if you got in bullishly, all the times I talk about stages 1 to 4, and you use it as any type of entry point, to me a lot of it is entering around sometime in stage 4, which would have been somewhere around 1003, 1004 area in here, maybe 1005. But it also means, okay, where would I put a stop? And obviously, at this stage in here, maybe you go below the 18 lows, maybe you go below this price action in here. That's, of course, how you would decide to play it. But if we just analyze candle by candle period and how it means, starting with when coming from the 18 lows, it had a good solid green candle up 2.39% that hour, and it followed through with another good one with a better gain of 2.74%. So the pullback on the next one is good size volatility, going to the 18 highs, coming back to this little area here. And you're always going to have those people selling because it's areas you haven't seen in a while. People, it's just normal when you have a new move high. People are going to want to uh, take advantage and take and sell on it. And then how does it react to the original sell waves? Well, in this case, what did this green candle do? It got it all back and then some. For it closed and went above the open and the high of the previous period. But pretty much in that type of level, just getting it back instantly. And we're opening up this one. We're only 9 minutes in, 8 minutes in really, and it's just holding in there so far. But nice little setup. It looks like on the short term, this thing might be even looking very, very good. If when looking at it via the 15 and the 4, so we'll do that. And amongst the 15, that's exactly the type of situation that we're seeing. An amazing setup because you have this amazing move that leaves the 18, destroys this level of resistance. And after hitting this high, it has its pullback. This is the big sell wave here. But it comes right back to the 18 lows, as I stated before, back to where it came from. That nice green, big green to follow through, getting it back, as I mentioned, getting past this resistance. And now we have several periods doing as it is doing, correcting through time, meeting up now officially or mathematically within the 18 on this period and this time frame. So how it's holding up and reacting to it from the move high, bringing it back down and coming up to me, this is good. And this is why I like to do videos like this, because I'm not really coming out here saying, oh, by the way, this is the theta setup, work upon it, do your thing now, this is what I'm saying, whatever. Rather, the types of stuff, like this type of analysis that can work on really any market. 4 minute time frame, do we have anything else to support it? Well, we can see the failed breakdown really well on this case in here. Because if we draw a line in here, there's that major key level of support. And it hit it on one little occasion. It did so for like 3 or 4 periods, had an amazing lift off, came right back down, another 3 or so periods at it. And then when it came back down again, it sliced through it really, really fast. It took more than a half a dozen periods to get it back. But on the period in which it did, also meeting up within the 18 and the 18 highs congest at the same time, we didn't resist it. We didn't even pause it and find any correction through time. Rather, you see the solid move and the reaction to it from that point, which is just this in here, to me is very, very bullish. And even this just previous period in here, I want to take a look at the one now to get the story on this. And I haven't obviously haven't seen it. It's been live since I've done this video. Obviously, this is new information. But what has happened in here? Because amongst this holding and everything that it's doing, well, it recovered that sell pretty good because this very short-term level of key support, well, it's looking like that might be a failed breakdown. Well, let's take a look at the 1 minute time frame and see what we're able to get. And there was a decent sized volume play there. So someone sold it down and then obviously bought right back up very, very quickly. And that will do it for today's video. So that was theta, multiple time frames. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing does get going. And one of the things I keep looking at as far as how good of a long-term play this is the just the fact that it's holding these moves very, very well. Because one of the ways I look at it is, let's just take a look at theta on the Huobi exchange, because I just have a few more weeks of data on this. Although it's volatile, the volume participation on this is so much lower. Since February the 30th, or January the 30th, when the price was like right in here, this market is down from 1952 to 1012. So it's lost not quite half its value against Bitcoin. There's been times when it's been up. And it was new then, but a lot of the new coins that came out at the end of January or at this time frame when the bear market started, well, they're resisting these. They're well below this type of level here. The fact that it's holding like this is a phenomenal thing. The fact that it's got magnificent volatility really works towards my game plan strategy among ratio trading these coins together. So those are just little bonus items. So when I look at what I show, or when I show again what I did before in the statistical percentage move, seeing how theta is only down 1.12%, but I guess at 1012, which is what the price is now, we'll go from 112 to about 2%, depending on Bitcoin's price. But hey, the markets move up and down. You know what? Let's show theta against some crosses just for something to do since I still got time. So ratio trading, let's see what we got here. Let's sort this by percentage move. So everything losing is theta. But that's because theta's on the right hand side. I'm sorting it by percentage losers, percentage gainers. How is that makes sense? Yeah. See, theta go is up 4.79% because the first one on the list, if it's up, that means the first one is winning. So theta's beating Go Chain right now at the 860. But if we look at, say, something like Qtum, this is the volatility that we're looking at. Markets that will go from like 47 down to 11, down up to 29, down to 28. It's most recently been to 47, right now down to 31. So at 31.21, what does that mean for me as a trader? Let's take a look at it. Where's theta and Qtum? My last trade was 32.82. So I got a long ways to go. It's pretty much got to go below 30 or above 36. Then I'll do something about it. And then after that, we got NEO against theta. We can see in here on the 3-day just doing its thing for volatility. Its thing was 256 down to 44, up to 112, then a couple support hits at 82, recently up to 156, now at 126. For me, NEO against theta. I last traded at 135, so it's getting closer and closer, but I had 127.87 written in, so it's another basis point lower. So that works out to now close to 7%. So it's getting in there. Now I probably have a alert in here waiting to go on one of these time frames. This is on somewhere on the hourly time frame, somewhere right here. So I have an alert here. If it goes below 122, then just let me know, computer, and then I'll handle the situation. As far as Ripple's concerned, most of my alerts are either 4-minute or 1-minute. Do I have an alert here anywhere? Yep, so I have an alert way down in here, ready to go, and it'll tell me failed move, fast move. Look, interesting. Let's take a look at some technical analysis in here just for something to do. So first you find break a key level. This is on the failed breakout. This is that failed breakout. These were the 2 key levels that it hit. This is the previous congestion area. It quickly comes back into congestion, but it didn't spend much time there because it even went below and for several periods is now resisting this little area of support. So as a chart analyst, I'm looking at a failed breakout, fast move lower. So a significant break below here. I mean, obviously my target level will be higher than where my buy is. But based on this time frame, I'd be probably looking for somewhere around in here, at around 279. I'm looking at the 4-minute time frame, so the lower the time frame, the lower the volatility should always be the case. When looking at such on, say, a single hour, I can tell you there hasn't been, well, actually, no, I'm thinking Ripple and LITECOIN. I added that a little while ago. I still haven't made a trade on it. It's not volatile at all right now. On here, 3 hours, what do we got? Just a little move here, 280 up to 317. See, it hasn't been doing too much on the daily chart. You have this like a double topish formation, extra supporting of this level in here. The momentum going higher almost certainly seems a little bit lost. So there's a lot of concerns that this might be going here. But for me, if this goes down, then if I reverse it theta forward slash ripple, it would technically be going up. So markets go up or down. When you're trading both coins like this, I mean, why does it really matter to me too much? ARC coin against theta. ARC is more of a fancier, more. But the up and down choppy action, this is the type of stuff that you expect a lot. You should get a lot amongst the ratio trading is this kind of look. And that's what I'm looking to get. All of this up and down nonsense, but it's not nonsense when only price pays. And as much of those little bits you can get, and the more of them that you can pick away at, the profitabilities become so magnificent. 973 up here, 728 down there, back to the 9.5, back to 7 1/3, up to this level here. All these different moves that can take place, high, low. It's just so many that can be taken advantage of on this. And then if you can take advantage of any of this quickly, sometimes you got to be fast. This, of course, is one of them on the day of November the 30th. And of course, yeah, that's all the thetas had that. Because if you're up at 3 o'clock and you were doing any type of ratio trading with theta, that means you sell, 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 sell. And then it just reverted back, buy back. It was like, okay, that worked out well, free coins, however you played it. And then just your normal volatility, go from like 5 up to like 7 and change, then back down to 4. A little small, not so much move to 460. That's like 15%. Maybe you make a trade, maybe you don't. But then it goes back down to 3, back up to 6, and then just chopping up and down along the way. I think I have probably haven't. Do I have any orders rate or any? Yep, right in here at 370 is this one. And LITECOIN and theta. Got a bunch of lines that I drew and don't remember why. They do represent this level of support and resistance. But as far as its short-term volatility, we're looking at the hour. 875 up to 985, back down to 875 again. Daily chart. Again, these up and down movements in here. Like in here. Especially, well, this is again another November 30th. But just this one again in here on March 9th, to have it go from 435 to 301 and back to 435 like that. This is one of the ones where you had to be fast, but how fast you have to be. I guess get the date again. That's March the 10th. You know, let's just take a look at this on the single hour time frame just for something to do for around the second week of March. So as a trader, if you're looking at this, you're like, before all this was going on, you were playing a range, 500, you're just stuck in a 510, 540 range. Not much you can do. Maybe you sold bot, made a trade in here, but this is a very non-volatile tight range that it was going through from February 16th through February 24th. And all of a sudden, action happens. Things change. You were waiting for a break. And you didn't care as a trader if it was going up or down based on my strategy, but you knew you had to act upon this going down. Let's just assume that you had, for the most part during the day, you could always get within a computer every couple hours to make a trade. Maybe you slept from, we'll go 2,300 hours to 8 hours. Well, in this case here, before you go to bed, we would say, you'd be like, okay, well, 23 is what I'm stating, so let me just see what 2200 looks like. Well, in this case, you gotta give yourself the benefit of the doubt, I think. Whereas if that was the schedule you were on, you're like, oh my goodness, if you were right in here, you'd see that it just broke this level of support. You either just started, if you're like me, you got a whole bunch of coins you can trade against one thing. You might have sold one or two of your pairings against it, meaning you sold Litecoin for whatever else. Well, in this case, you would have sold it for Bitcoin, or Litecoin rather. And then if you waited another hour, you would have maybe got some more plays in. And then after this, maybe at some point you go to sleep, but then when you wake up in the morning, just a little bit of a pullback. And then we have this on February 26th. Whenever you get there at some point, you're just getting better buy prices down here. And this goes all the way down to February the 27th at 1600 hours. So you get all the way down to 300. Now, if you were able to buy at 300 and you happen to be up, maybe you could sell up here. Either way, this meant a couple days where there wasn't much to do. You bought here, you really didn't have opportunity to sell up here because this occurred 4 in the morning, and even then you might have been looking for better than 350. And if you didn't buy here, you had an opportunity again to buy again. And if you then when we see that it breaks this resistance, as we're now going to be entering into that third week of March soon. Okay, we do all our things, all of the stuff that we bought back in here, just in time sell. It's just a matter of when you do it when the markets look like this. And then this happens. At what time does it happen? 2100 hours. So this is easily a spot again before you go to bed. You're like, oh wow, I guess I'm selling some theta for Litecoin. And what time does this happen at? 1600 hours. Maybe you sell some more. And if you get these bottom points, it's 1500 hours. You're there, 283, and make the ratio trade. Next thing you know, at 2200 hours, things up like 50 points. So you've already had about a 17-18% rise. So if you haven't sold yet, you have the opportunity again to do so. This little move in here at 11 o'clock in the morning goes from 332 to 487, and especially this hour here at 1400 hours, March the 12th. If you were able to get up to this, it was easy to get between 425 and maybe you get up to 440 if you worked on it. And you had a lot of time to get that, but you were already stuck before this happened, before it was looking good. And at this stage, it was just looking good, showing strength amongst the 18 highs. And you're like, okay, 362. And in here, it's like, oh, 423. So it's a gain of like 60 or so points, almost 20%. It was better. And it gave you an opportunity, of course, to make a trade. And then if you're trading in here, what's it go down to? 400. That's like 5 or 4%. So nothing's going on. Goes to this high, nothing's going on. Maybe you're able to make a sell down here if your target is level and you're fast enough. And of course, if you're there, maybe this is high enough for you here. But again, any of these types of moves along the way, this goes up to 493, down possibly to 440, but grinding its way higher. It's just a matter of time. If your sell number was say 537, we'll say, well, where did 537 appear for the first time? Up in here. So maybe, okay, so you wake up in the morning at 8 o'clock. Maybe you got the 548. Maybe you got 537. Maybe you got 540. Somewhere in there you got some sort of price. It worked out. Maybe you got advantage of this on that 4 o'clock move. You know what? There's always a bunch of maybes, but you're always working yourself to say, okay, I even see these individual spike moves. How can I take advantage of them? I'm happy with it going from 569 to 530. It's still like 6%, and you just got to find the strategic ways to do it. Now I'm going to go back to the Kenny Rogers, The Gambler song, and just go over one of the sweet lines. I'm going to fast forward this here to current. There we go. If you want to play the game, know how to play the game. If you want to play the game, something of that nature. No, you don't know how to play it good. There's many ways to play it right. You have to play it right, I think it is. Let me just get the exact quote. And he said, if you're going to play the game, boy, you got to play it right. That's the line that I'm looking for. And there's so many good lines in this, the lyrics to the Kenny Rogers song, The Gambler. There's so many ways to play it right. There's also so many ways to play it wrong. And when I say right, that means mathematical long-term odds are in your favor for thus to be considered what I would consider an advantage player, an advantage gambler. Those are people who have long-term edge on their side. And then, of course, those who lose, disadvantage. I call those disadvantage. I don't know what term to use. I had some interesting names back in the past, but the easiest one was just saying losers. It really was just there has to be losers in the games. And when I sat down at the poker table, I could pretty much tell within sometimes immediately who the losers were. It was so many were so obvious. It was just so obvious, and it was always right when I figured, okay, this player's going to be like this, and you know that. I mean, you can just tell the total complete casual players. And in this trading game, um, what can you do to give yourself that advantage that obviously other not as many other people are doing? You don't have to be the best in the world at what you do, and of course you're not going to be. I mean, what the chances are you won't, because only one person can technically be the best. And to beat me, it's going to be tough to do. And I'm kidding on that one because I'm the best in the world. I'm not. I don't think so. Not yet. But that's the whole point. Try it, strive to be towards it, get work towards getting better. But having the ideology of knowing, yeah, yeah, I'm going to kick ass. I'm gonna win. And you say that in a realistic level. And of course, when I say that, I realize that yeah, part of my game with my strategy is the math to the buy low, sell high is going to take place, but it's still your job to make sure that you have the coins that are going to work within its volatility and that are going to go up. Because if I could pick away at two coins playing this game, and in say a long period of time, even like say 500 days, if one of them goes down 85% and the other goes down 92%, and I'm able to quadruple my holdings, I'm still losing. So there's so many variables but within it. But I also realize that uh, though those are worst case type scenarios in the trading game that I talk about. Thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. Bye bye.